Hi, everyone. My name is Melanie Damour, and I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives at XRPL Commons. A bit more about XRPL Commons. We're a nonprofit based in Paris. We've been in existence for a bit more than a year, and our mission is really to create the conditions of success for entrepreneurs and developers to thrive in the XRPL ecosystem. Our offer is structured around 4 pillars: education, building, adoption, and engagement. In regards to education, we build trainings for teachers, students, developers, and we also create academic and research partnerships with institutions. The latest ones being Institut Louis Bachelier and Charité and UNESCO. In terms of building, we aim to provide the tools to support builders and developers. We organize hackathons in Paris and throughout the world. And we also have our 12-week residency program called the Aquarium. The first 3 cohorts were on the topic of regeneration, DID, and IP. And we have an upcoming one in September on the topic of DeFi. In terms of adoption, we partner with corporates and institutions to help identify and deploy use cases on the XRP Ledger. And finally, in terms of engagement, we help federate the XRPL community through our community magazine, events, city hall meetings, etc. At XRPL Commons, we're also leading the initiative to make the XRP Ledger more sustainable. So just a bit more context on this topic. Given the negative impacts of climate change, I'm sure you're all aware of, there's been an overall call to stakeholders worldwide to limit the temperature rise based on the Paris Agreements to well below 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels, as well as to pursue efforts to limit the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So basically, this corresponds to a 6% drop in global emissions on an annual basis. How can we achieve this, you may ask? Firstly, there's a lot that can be done at the individual level. For example, each French citizen should divide by 5 their carbon footprint by 2050 in order to reach these goals. Then there's also a lot that can be done at the national level. In France, the country should divide by 5 and 6 their carbon footprint by 2050 and multiply carbon sinks by 2 in order to reach the Paris Agreement goals. Finally, there's also a lot that can be done at the industry level. Just to give you an indication, currently the digital sector represents 4% of global emissions, and it's expected that by 2025, the digital sector will represent 8% of global emissions. This is hardly compatible with the Paris Agreement goals. So it's in this context that XRPL Commons has taken the proactive stance of coordinating the community-led process to make the XRP Ledger more sustainable. Our commitment is around 4 steps. The first one is around education. Since we've started this initiative, we've hosted several webinars to educate on this topic, and they're all available for replay on our website as well as on our YouTube channel. The second step has been around assessing the carbon footprint and electricity consumption of the XRP Ledger. And for this, we've partnered with CCRI, so Crypto Carbons Ratings Institute. And this step is really key in order to help identify, understand, and mitigate our emissions. For the assessment, we've identified 2 scopes, the core scope and the extended scope. The core scope includes the emissions from the 132 validators, which is considered the scope that is core for the network functioning. It's also the scope that's used as a basis of comparison for other layer 1 blockchains and used for regulatory compliance. In terms of regulatory compliance, for example, MiCA, which is a European framework, has made it mandatory for token issuers and crypto asset providers to disclose their sustainability indicators by end of 2024. This basically corresponds to 10 metrics around topics such as waste production, natural resources, greenhouse gas emissions, and energy. The second scope that we've been assessing, the extended scope, also includes the 132 validators, but extends to full history nodes, testnet nodes, and stock nodes. So in terms of results, I'm happy to announce that the XRP Ledger is energy efficient. In terms of emissions for the core scope, the global footprint is of 20 tons of CO2 equivalent, which basically corresponds to the emissions of around 4 French citizens or 12 Paris-New York flights. For the extended scope, the global emissions for the XRP Ledger are of around 160 tons of CO2 equivalent. Just to give you an order of magnitude, the Bitcoin network emits between 70 and 80 million tons of CO2. So going back to our commitments, the first 2 steps I mentioned were around education and assessing the carbon footprint of the XRP Ledger. The third step has been fine-tuning this assessment in collaboration with validators and members of the XRPL community. The fourth step is around identifying and implementing decarbonization levers. These levers should be by order of priority based on the impact on greenhouse gas emissions from most impact to least impact. This means that we first need to focus on avoidance levers, so avoiding carbon-intensive activities through enhanced efficiency and processes. Then on reduction levers, so removing emissions by changing activities. Thirdly, through removal and sequestering, either through natural or technological solutions. And only finally through offsetting, so offsetting residual emissions through indirect investments and/or carbon credits. So to finish this discussion, community contributions are really essential in order to have an ongoing discussion about climate change, its negative impacts, and our challenges in the digital sector, but also share best practices and encourage virtuous business models. It's also key to have validators involved in order to help identify and implement decarbonization levers. And for this purpose, we're hosting tomorrow a workshop from 12:30 to 1:30, I think in room 20, where we'll have this discussion. So if you want to contribute to making the XRP Ledger more sustainable, please feel free to join and to connect on this topic. Thank you.